Hey, Cardinals fans, we're back for another edition of This Week in Ball State Sports, and the semester continues to wind down and wind down. Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell joins us. Jeff, we've got a lot to talk about, but man, how about it being April 23rd already here in 2026?
It goes by so fast, Mick. Thanks for having me. I can remember back in January, I thought the month of January would never end, and then February goes so quickly. And it is the shortest month of the year, by the way.
It is, because there's a lot of debate on if February goes slow or fast, but I've always said it goes quick.
Well, sometimes it just drags on, and February goes fast. Then it really accelerates into March and April, and here we are a week away from commencement at Ball State. Our spring sports are winding down, and we're also preparing for the fall of 26 as well. So it's a fun time, and of course, we're also excited about a championship match on Saturday. So it's a fun time to be a Cardinal right now.
It is. There's a lot to unpack with what you just said. Let's start with the fact that commencement's coming up next weekend. Do you know the approximate number of student athletes that are graduating in this commencement? I'm putting you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot. I don't offhand. It typically is in the range of 60 to 70, but I'll get the exact number for you and be ready to report back next week. How about that?
Yeah, that's a tough one to pull out of the hat. But this is a stretch. You said it. Some of the sports are winding down. Another is straight in the championship season. Men's volleyball, let's start there with some exciting news. Taking down McKendree in the semifinals last night. The head of the MIVA championship on Saturday, 6 o'clock start against Loyola Chicago. The 1 seed Ball State versus the 2 seed Loyola Chicago. That is going to be exceptionally good volleyball.
Yeah, well, it's been exceptionally good volleyball all season long, especially in the MIVA. There are, I think, 4 conferences in the country in men's college volleyball. They're all very good, but the MIVA has been outstanding this year with multiple teams ranked in the top 15. Ball State enters the match ranked number 7 in the country, and our RPI, I think, continues to be at the 3 mark in the conference, or pardon me, in the country. So, and Loyola Chicago is right there in the top 10, and high RPI as well. So, 1 and 2 showdown going on in Worthen Arena, 6 p.m. As you said. It'll be fun. And
Ball State got it done against McKendree on Wednesday night.
Also a very good team.
Yeah. That's a team that came in 2-1 all time against Ball State in the MIVA tournament. And they were looking for their first championship appearance in the tournament. So they had all the motivation in the world. But from the jump, you could see Ball State was a different level of locked in for the semifinals.
Yeah, and I think that's been the case for us down the stretch. We had the slip up against Lewis. That was the match before the regular season finale, which ended up being a match against Loyola Chicago, which was for the overall first place finish in the MIVA going into the conference tournament, so it determined seeding. And that slip up against Lewis, I think, reset our team. I was talking to one of our fans last night at the match and said, it may have been the best thing that ever happened to the team was an opportunity to reset, refocus going into a critical stretch. And now you ask Coach Iandolo and the players, and they probably would disagree with you. They didn't want to drop that match. But in the course of a season, you have so many different turning points, and I think that was a critical one just to get re-energized and focused going into the MIVA Conference Championship, for the regular season, and then certainly as it carried over into the conference tournament. And we're playing really well and looking forward to Saturday.
Coach Iandolo told us a story that after the Lewis match, he couldn't sleep. And going into the regular season finale against Loyola Chicago, was thinking of what did they need to do to turn it and get right and win the regular season outright, not have any problems, no ties. And he said Patrick Rogers texted him past 11 o'clock after they lost to Lewis and said, what can I do better? How can I help this team win the regular season title and pole vault us to where we want to be? And they went back and forth, and they had an accountability session after that. What do you think that speaks to the level of coaching and the cohesiveness within a program, that there's that level of trust for a player to say, hey, in his senior season, up for player of the year in the country, and a team that's only lost 4 games to do that after a game like that with a coach that can be trusted like that?
Well, when you're talking about Patrick Rogers, you're also talking about an NCAA elite athlete. That's an official designation. So Patrick is the first student athlete with whom I've ever worked that has had that official designation. So what that means is that he is able to train whenever he wants. Because there are rules about when you can train within your respective sport.
Oh, so this is okay.
And he can go to Coach Iandolo or any of the coaches and say, hey, I need to get some work in, and it can be permissible, right? It won't be an NCAA violation because he is on the track to compete for the national team, the Olympic program, and
wow.
And so. And I think I'm breaking some news
to you. Yeah, I think you are. You're breaking a lot of news.
What's interesting about this is he was awarded this designation back in the fall. So, he's had this for some time, and it's just a very rare designation placed upon a student athlete who's exceptional in his or her sport. And so Patrick has it. And that's what it's called. It's an NCAA elite athlete, and we have one. He's a Cardinal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So for him to project that, not only the physicality or his physical prowess in playing the sport, but his mental acuity as well, to go to Coach Iandolo and say, "Hey, look, I don't think that I performed my best as a leader of this team in that match. What can I do better?" And Coach Iandolo is probably asking himself the same things, like, look, as the coach of this team, I don't think I did a good job. What can I do better? And then they decide that they, instead of having a practice the next day, they had an accountability session, as you said. And so they talked about, whatever happened on the court, what they could have done better. And it dials them in, right? It focuses them on what they needed to do going into that championship match. And so they didn't practice much, and instead they watched film. They allowed themselves to recognize that, hey, it just didn't go their way that night, but that they're capable of doing it. And it's kind of a freeing feeling as a player and as a coach too, to know that you've got guys that are bought into what you're doing, and as a coach that you've got players that are excited about making the adjustments that you need to make to be successful the next time out, and they certainly did that.
We have Ball State Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell live with us here in Studio B on This Week in Ball State Sports. Jeff, how do you become an elite athlete, designated person? Like, what's the process to get there that Patrick Rogers went through?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with just performance. And
he definitely qualifies in that regard.
And, he had an exceptional tournament when he played for the U23 team back in, I can't remember when this was. I think it was sometime in the fall as well, and helped the United States to a championship. And I think that his performance on the court at Ball State, his performance at that Olympic level was, or at least contributed to that designation. And I think, every national sport has an opportunity to designate those student athletes. And, from what we see on a nightly basis when we watch Patrick and our team play, and what those national coaches see when they watch him play, it's really no surprise that he enjoys that designation. And, he has grown a lot since he's been here and matured a lot, both as an athlete, as a student, as a leader. And that's exactly what college athletics is designed to do. And so we're very proud of Patrick. We're very proud of our men's volleyball program, very proud of Coach Iandolo and his staff for the excellent work that they've done this year in their first year at the helm, running our program. And here it is, culminating in an opportunity to win a MIVA Conference Tournament championship on the heels of a regular season championship. Yeah,
it's all that you just said is pretty remarkable when you look at just how it lines up for the student athlete, for coaches, and everything. The Cardinals against Loyola Chicago, the 1-2. Lewis made a run there as the 6th seed beat Lindenwood to force the game against Loyola Chicago. Then the Ramblers got it done in a straight set sweep last night. Ball State gets the straight set sweep against McKendree, and those two meet for the MIVA championship. We have a lot more coming up here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Director of Athletics Jeff Mitchell rejoins us next here on the program.
Behind every strong hip and knee. Behind every strong shoulder.
Good catch.
Behind every strong team, is our highly skilled team of experts in orthopedics. IU Health is the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of Ball State Athletics, and we're here to keep you moving. From acute injuries to chronic pain and conditions, go where the athletes go. Walk-in appointments for new injuries are available Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can always schedule a same-day or next-day appointment and wait from the comfort of your home. Visit iuhealth.org/MuncieOrtho to learn more.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Welcome back to This Week in Ball State Sports here on a Thursday morning, 9 to 9:30, each and every week during the Ball State Athletics academic calendar year. Jeff Mitchell rejoins us here on the show. We're just talking about Patrick Rogers, the MIVA tournament coming up with the championship game on Saturday, and what the men's volleyball program has done. Shifting gears, Jeff, to the football side of things, spring ball's concluded for the Cardinals. They had the spring game on the 18th of April. It was a rainy, windy day, but the community still showed out. Fans still showed up. Alumni were in attendance, and they got to see Ball State football on display.
Yeah, it resembled a Maction game
It did,
in
really
the middle
did.
of November, I think, with the way the weather was. But we've had a very good spring of football here at Ball State, and Coach Jurimovic has raved about the performance of his team and how much work that they've been able to accomplish. It's been quality work. They've been working on implementing the offense and the defense, and we've got about 17 student athletes that will join the team in late May as they begin their summer work, and these are incoming freshmen that are coming in at the traditional time as opposed to coming in a semester early, and a few transfer students that were finishing their respective semesters at other institutions. But when we get our full team together, I know Coach Jurimovic is going to be extremely excited. These transfers that are coming in are veteran players, so they'll be able to pick up on things very quickly. The incoming freshmen will have a learning curve, but that's why the summer period is designed to be intense, and just in terms of learning the playbook. And we have summer access opportunities now for coaches and players to get some work in as it leads to fall camp. So those guys will be able to get caught up pretty quickly. But the ones that have been here throughout the spring are just that much further ahead in terms of understanding what we're doing. And that was all by design. Coach, as he tells me, we're bigger, faster, stronger at every position than we were a year ago. And that's incredibly encouraging and exciting to me. And I think that he certainly likes what he sees after having gone through the spring and told me that, as he and I have dialogue that is candid and is not on the air, but I have no problem sharing that he said we had a really good spring, and that's better than him saying I'm worried about our team.
Yeah, that's a really big difference.
That's right.
Between, I think we're in a good spot, and I didn't really like what we had.
That's right.
And I know every coach was excited for the spring game, and you get to the point of all the practices, for the most part, you're just behind closed doors, and now you open things up, public can see what you have. And a lot of teams are going away from a traditional scrimmage type game. It's more drills, but then you put them in certain situations that could be game-like. But the fans got a little bit of a taste of what this team is going to become fall.
Yeah, they got a little bit of a taste. There's still some gamesmanship that happens in those events. We call it a showcase. Some teams continue to call it a spring game, but you're really not showing too much, right? You're not going to show your offensive sets. It'll be a basic offense that you run for that situation, a basic defense, and there's just so much that goes into preparing for a game and certainly a season, and you're not going to divulge much in the spring because most coaches with whom I've worked, Mick, are extremely paranoid. And so you invite people to come to an event and watch your team play, and if it's not a game type situation, You just worry about spies, Mick.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
You're looking at me like I'm a spy or something.
Well, I know that your perch was
Oh,
up top
okay.
in Schumann Stadium. Like,
Okay.
no, I'm just kidding.
Here we go.
About you, but that would be a whole show dedicated to stories that I've heard of coaches talking about their paranoia when it comes to practices and games and things like that. And Coach Urimovich, I don't think falls into that category. However, he wasn't going to run anything. We're going to break out against Ohio State in the first game of the 26th season.
That's a very good point. Jeff Mitchell, Director of Athletics, with us here at Studio B Live on This Week in Ball State Sports. And the designation of having the second best portal transfer class in the MAC by several outlets. Ball State's best recruiting class in football history as well this year. What do you make of that? How much stock are you putting into that as the fall comes up here soon?
Well, I think it's really important as we continue to move the needle and enhancing the caliber of our football program. And Coach Urimovich laid out a plan when he was interviewing for our job about what he thought he could do as he inherited the program, as he understood the landscape of the Mid-American Conference, as he also was adjusting to the new landscape of intercollegiate athletics and college football. He was going to assemble a staff that understood the caliber of player that could be successful at Ball State and within the Mid-American Conference, and guys that are just really good recruiters, but are also very good coaches, very good mentors of student athletes. And I believe you're beginning to see the fruits of that labor as we're attracting talented student athletes to come to Ball State and compete and change the direction of our program. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and I look forward to the continued growth and development of our program under Coach Urimovich's leadership. And he's very detailed. He's very precise in how he leads and how he builds and develops a program. And I think there's history on his side of when he's been allowed the freedom to do that type of work, that it's yielded really positive results. And for us to have those recruiting rankings are nice. Coach wants nothing to do with them, right. But because they can be a distraction. But I do think there's some affirmation at play, and that's always encouraging. And so for him to feel that just from people being interested in what we're doing, and people externally, high school coaches that are excited about the trajectory of the program and are willing to send talented student athletes to Ball State to play under Coach Urimovich and our staff, that's where you want to be at this stage of the program as we develop it. And so very excited for us to continue to progress in that way.
Everybody talks about player retention in today's era of college athletics, whether it be football, basketball, softball, soccer, anything. You look at player retention as such an important piece of the puzzle. How about the coaching retention for Coach Urimovich? He's bringing back everybody on his staff, except for a few GA student workers. That changes year over year, but almost everybody's coming back. That seems like a pretty important piece of the puzzle.
Well, it is. The more continuity you can have in your staff, the better. And what Coach Urimovich told me is that he was going to ask his staff to give him a commitment of at least a couple of years. And, we all know in this business that things happen and opportunities sometimes present themselves when you least expect it. But I think the talented coaches that Coach Urimovich assembled on our football staff are loyal to what Coach asked, and they are dedicated to seeing us take a step in this next year, in year two of the Urimovich era, and they're excited to be here. And so I think learning under somebody like Coach Urimovich, having him as a guide and a mentor, somebody that can advocate for them as our young assistants continue on their professional journey, I think is really important. And so to put in quality work product for them to lean on as they continue to advance in their career is important. And that loyalty piece certainly matters in the coaching ranks. And I think Coach Urimovich is rewarding those guys too with expanded roles, more responsibility in terms of their coaching journey as they continue to develop, because as our coaches develop and become better at their craft, our student athletes reap the benefits of that as well. And so it all goes hand in hand. And again, I think with Coach Yurmovich's experience, this is a third time being a head coach.
Right.
He is really good at balancing how do I develop my staff and how does that help develop our team, and I think we're seeing that on full display right now.
And you get to see it from so many different angles from his career, and how you mentioned at the different stops that he's had.
That's right.
The foundations that he's been able to build year over year, lean into, if he's able to retain his staff, bring in what he needs to year two, that jump naturally starts to progress. You see it across MAC teams all the time, is when they have continuity going from year one to year two to year three, you start to build something. And not to pull it from a different sport with a different team, but you see Miami, Ohio, what they did with basketball. Coach Steele came out and said, when he was hired, hey, give me 3-4 years, and you're going to see if we can keep everybody together what this looks like. And Coach U asking for a commitment of a couple of years, I think that helps bridge the gap to making a team build the foundation and then expand off the foundation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the more continuity you have, too, the more time you can actually spend on the student athlete development phase, because when you're having to adjust staff all the time, you're having to spend more time in making sure the staff understands what the head coach wants and how that all interrelates into preparing the team to play. But when you've got a staff that understands the rhythm and the cadence of an everyday football operation, then you can spend more time on doing the important work, which is to develop the student athlete. So,
and there's over 100 of the student athletes for a football team, so you need that time.
It's a huge operation, and so there's just there's so many moving parts on any given day, and when you walk in the building and everybody knows what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it,
and when,
and when you can just develop a game plan, and I use that term broadly, to prepare for what's next. And so all spring, we weren't worried about replacing a coach. We were worried about how do we get our team ready to go to the next phase. And it's not how do we get our team ready for the fall. It's how do we get our team ready for the summer, right? And then we'll spend the summer, how do we get the team ready for camp? And then camp will be how do we get our team ready for the fall.
I think one of the biggest beneficiaries of the entire situation might be defensive coordinator Jeff Knowles, because his first year he was with one coach, his second year he's with Coach U, and now year 3 at Ball State, he has a chance to be settled in and run the defense how he thinks he needs to run it.
Right, and I think the relationship that Coach Knowles has with Coach Yurmovich, having worked with him before, is beneficial as well. So as we were going through the coaching transition, when Coach Yurmovich came on board, his first call was to Jeff Knowles, because that's who he wanted as a defensive coordinator. He just happened to already be here.
Works out that way sometimes.
It does. That's right.
And it gives Coach Knowles now the chance to have a settled situation and build the defense how he wants
That's right.
it. We'll take one more break. We'll come back, talk some more spring sports. That's next on This Week in Ball State Sports.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Behind every strong hip and knee. Behind every strong shoulder.
Good catch.
Behind every strong team is our highly skilled team of experts in orthopedics. IU Health is the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of Ball State Athletics, and we're here to keep you moving. From acute injuries to chronic pain and conditions, go where the athletes go. Walk-in appointments for new injuries are available Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can always schedule a same-day or next-day appointment and wait from the comfort of your home. Visit iuhealth.org/MuncieOrtho to learn more.
Back inside Studio B here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Final couple of moments here on the program before we get to next week, 9 to 9:30, right here from Studio B, as Steve Lindell says contractually, Studio B, Wolf Boom Campus. Get all that out of the way real fast here on a Thursday morning. Jeff Mitchell, Director of Athletics, still with us in studio. Jeff, we're looking at baseball season. 4 weekends left in the conference slate. You've got 2 home game series, 2 road series left. Softball's got a couple of series left in their season as well. But the baseball team at a pretty critical portion of their schedule with those 4 weekends left, tied for 5th place, but only 2 games back from first. A lot going on there.
Yeah, there's a log jam for the top 6 spots
still
in the Mid-American Conference, which is really remarkable at this stage of the season. And yeah, every game is important. Every game matters, and I think our team is approaching it that way. Would have liked to have won the series last weekend at Kent, came up a game short there, hosting UMass this weekend, which will be a critical series for us. For those top 6 teams or the teams that are competing for those top 6 spots, they're in the same boat. Every game is critical, right? So that what it should yield is really good baseball down the stretch from those 6 teams. And, for the Cardinals, I think we continue to hit the ball well. We continue to play decent defense, and our pitching needs to continue to come along. And Coach Maloney is trying to work on and develop some of these younger pitchers, and that's why we picked up a game yesterday against IU South Bend, was to get some of these younger pitchers some additional work, which worked to their favor, I think, yesterday. And because we know as we go down the stretch and as we get into the conference tournament that pitching depth is critical. And as Coach reminds his team and tells me on a frequent basis, I'm in it to win this thing. And so the work that's done throughout the course of the season, even though the season hasn't gone as the way we would like it, the way that a Ball State team normally does, you can never lose focus on the development of the player, and we've talked about that all show long. But looking forward to watching our team compete this weekend against a UMass team that's hot right now. They've won 6 straight coming into this weekend's series, so it should be a fun weekend at Shebeck Stadium.
You going to do play-by-play again like you did against Indiana?
Oh, you
Ball
brought
State
that
Radio
up?
Network?
I will not this weekend, but maybe an invitation will be extended to me to do another inning of work at some point.
I mean, I'll be in Friday, Sunday, and you have an open invitation whenever you want. So you can stop by and just let us know.
Thank you, Mick. I appreciate it.
How did it go?
I thought it was great. I thought it was great. We had one little play on a first and third situation that tripped me up a little bit. I have to go back and listen to it to
review
do my
tape,
film
yeah.
work, right? But outside of that, I thought it was fine. It's been a long time since I've done that, but I appreciate Kurt Darling extending the invitation to me, and I was ready. I was prepared. I knew exactly how to pronounce all the names, and I knew exactly where we were when I took the seat. And the only other thing that I failed to do properly was do the live read for the presenting sponsor of the inning at the top of the inning. Instead, I did it in the middle of the inning, but I tried to pull it off where nobody knew.
Yeah, nobody would have known.
Until
you just exposed
secret,
yourself.
Right. That's right. That's right.
One.
That's right. We always have to make an adjustment, Mick. So I'm learning.
You do. There's 30 seconds we've got left. Women's Golf Championships, Mac, what do you want to say about their program right now?
It's a team that I'm really proud of, that they continue to improve, and Coach Andrew's done a great job this season, I think we'll be able to be competitive. We've done so and proven that all season long, and excited to see our continued growth and trajectory in that program as we go into those championships.
Okay, I lied. One more 30 seconds. Chirpies this past Monday celebrated the student athletes. What were your overall thoughts?
What a great way to celebrate our student athlete population in the way that SportsLink produces a show like that. I think it's the best in the country. I think it would be hard to find another institution that does it that well. So shout out to Chris Taylor and the excellent and talented students that work for SportsLink that helped us produce memorable Chirpies. Congratulations to our student athletes who won awards and our coaches who did as well. And to see all the student athletes get dressed up and have the red carpet experience, to enjoy some food from our food partners across the community and at the university, I think is a nice touch. And then for them to be celebrated in a live show is pretty remarkable. And the MC was okay too.
He was okay. He was okay. The AD speech was pretty good as well. Jeff Mitchell in studio with us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Aiden Foster, for producing here today. And we'll talk with you next week, 9 to 9:30 on This Week in Ball State Sports.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports. The preceding has been a Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network presentation on 92.5 FM, 1340 AM,